All right, hi everyone, I'm Wei Ann. I am a Malaysian, 25-year-old. I studied in the UK doing a master's in physics before graduating to become a software engineer. So I've worked across two companies, firstly in consulting at Accenture, and I'm now working as a full stack engineer at a visual AI company called Tractable. So yeah, I graduated like 3 years ago. And obviously at that time, I was having maybe the same questions as you guys are having right now of, what is the job market in the UK like? What can I do to make myself more employable? Um, and I think where my mind was at then compared to now, having had 3 years experience, I've actually learned a lot of things that's hopefully going to be useful for you as well. Um, Firstly, like when I was doing my physics degree, my kind of idea of what jobs would be available to me was pretty narrow. I was like, okay, I'm either going to go into academia, doing a PhD, or maybe I'll do some like private sector R&D. Um, but as time went on, it became really apparent that there was a huge demand for most people from STEM industries, so your mathematics, your engineering, your physical sciences, to actually go into tech because we have a lot of those analytical skills. Um, and yeah, that's how I kind of stumbled into software engineering, and it's been really, really fun. It's brought on a whole new slew of challenges and made me realize that I really enjoy working in product companies as well, like developing and maintaining a product. Um, so yeah, and I must say that even though it's obviously been COVID times and it's been quite a tough time for students and people graduating, the employment opportunities in technology have been like unexpectedly boundless. So when I was looking at transitioning to my second job, even with 1 or 2 years experience, I found that there was a lot of job opportunities out there, and also ones that provided really good training as well. Um, yeah, and I think another question that a lot of us ask ourselves is like, how much, as a student especially, how much do my results matter? And I would say that the realistic answer is it does. But if you think about all the skills and tools and your experiences that you take with you when you go and look for a job as a toolkit or like a tool belt or something, your results should really be the smallest knife in the belt or whatever you want to call it. um like sure, it's a baseline, but all the most successful, intelligent people that I know, um it's the least important part of their kind of like portfolio or repertoire or whatever. So I wouldn't worry too. Obviously, it's important, especially as a stepping stone. If you're doing your A levels, and obviously you want to get into a uni that does a really good course that you want to study, it's important because at that point, that's all they really have to judge you on. But as you start to leave a more formal school setting, the world becomes a lot less certain in a good way because it means that you have a lot more the ways to prove yourself. You do a bit of work experience, you do a personal project, and these start to stack up to be way bigger or more important tools in your tool belt than your results. um yeah, and but I guess the other thing to say is I think it also depends on the industry. Like if you go into tech like me and become a software developer or programmer, it's one of those industries that really does not really care about accolades or even formal education. I don't think at any of the teams I've been in, no one's ever talked about results or whatever. And you very quickly realize, just based off some like working with someone, what makes a good programmer. Whereas maybe if you were in a more traditional environment, like maybe law or legal, from listening to my friends and stuff, I think your uni credentials and stuff tend to matter more. So maybe you want to take that into account as well. Um, but I would still stand by the fact that it should be the smallest tool in your toolkit. And you should always challenge yourself to be able to prove your worth in other ways. But yeah, so if you're interested in staying in the UK to work, um, and you're kind of thinking about how I found an industry that I want to work in, how do I really nailed that interview. You know, been there, used to have this. I remember in the last year of uni, I had this massive spreadsheet where I tracked every single application that I was making. And I had like a red, amber, green status thing. Like if I didn't get it, it'd be red. And there was a lot of red in this spreadsheet, right? I would say that interviewing for my second job has taught me a lot more, because when I was fresh out of uni, I was very much like, oh, you know, whoever gives me a job, I'll be so happy. But once you've accumulated a bit of the experience, and you're maybe not looking at grad schemes anymore, the main advice that I would give is to like really understand what makes you unique and your selling point. Um, like when I was in Accenture, we had to basically always pitch ourselves to be put onto projects, like interesting projects that we wanted. And the first project I ever did, I had some but close to no actual software engineering experience. But I basically went up to the person who would then become my boss, and said like, look, I want to be a software developer. I have none of the skills, but this is why you should invest your time and effort into training me, because I am going to be really valuable to you. Because even though I don't have all this experience, I have the analytical skills. I know how to manage stakeholders, blah, blah, blah. I had a very strong narrative around myself as a hybrid person, like the person that bridges the gap, the person that can communicate between technical and non-technical audiences. And I think that everyone has that unique selling point, right? You just need to, one, figure out what is actually wanted from that role, which isn't always easy if you've never been in the job market before, and two, figure out how you fit into that. So that's what I would spend some time thinking about that. And the other tips I would have is like to take a genuine interest in the product and business, which again isn't that easy a thing to do, especially fresh out of college or uni or whatever. But what I mean by this is like, if you actually understand how the company works and where they, you know, if it's a product company, like how do they provide value to their customers or whatever, if you actually understand how that works and you show a genuine interest in it, um, especially if you work in a startup like I do, where you get to be very close to like the C-suite people, that level of engagement is I think is a generally a very good indicator. Like I know this person that I work with, because the company that I work for, we use our AI visual models to be able to identify damage, right? So we currently work mostly with automobiles. So if your car's been in an accident, we can run our visual models on them and be able to tell that these are the exact parts that are damaged and this is how much it's going to cost to fix it, like on your phone within minutes. And someone that I work with in the interview basically asked them like, you know, if in 5 or 10 years time we have self-driving cars and no cars get into accidents, does that mean that our business is basically going to be made redundant? Which, you know, it's like kind of a crazy thing to say to the CEO before you even get hired, but it shows such a genuine understanding of the business, and it shows like a really good attitude. So I would really encourage that. And also ask as much from them as they are from you, because in this interview, like you might feel like they're the people who are interviewing you to see whether you're right, but you're also kind of interviewing them to see whether they're right for you, right? Both in terms of culture, in terms of training opportunities if you're quite new, um, as well as, you know, I don't know, like the kind of impact that you can make and what it will mean for your career. So just remember that, you know, they want you to some degree because they're interviewing you already. Yeah, I think that's all the advice and kind of experiences that I've had. Um, yeah, I hope it was helpful.